Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program. This is English Digest, and I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to be talking about War and Honor Through the Eyes of a Soldier. That's the title of our article, but the actual book we are talking about in this month's unit on literature is entitled Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. Okay, this is a work of fiction. It is a novel, but still this story is true for lots of people who are fighting in wars and who fought in the Iraq War. If you're an American soldier, I guess the Canadians were there too, and the British were there too. So this story is probably something that a lot of soldiers in the above-mentioned countries can relate to.
Yeah, this is a war that happened after the U.S., New York City was attacked. After 9/11, George Bush, the president of the States, sent troops over there to attack. Well, this kid, he's only 19. We're going to hear about his experiences. So through his eyes just means we're going to see how it felt to him. The first day of our literature unit, as we always do, we go through the plot, the story. So we're going to read that and then we'll be back. Billy Lynn is a 19-year-old American soldier who is willing to die for his country. During the Iraq War, Billy and his squad members fought heroically in combat. To recognize their bravery, the government has arranged a special ceremony at halftime of a Dallas Cowboys football game. The soldiers are scheduled to appear on stage so they can be honored for their military service. As Billy readies himself for his big day, he begins to reflect on his past. He thinks of his dysfunctional family and how their lack of support made him want to join the army to give his life new meaning. Then he remembers the brave men and women, both dead and alive, whom he served with during his deployment in Iraq. He thinks about one of his mentors, Sergeant Shroom, whose philosophical insights gave him a different outlook on the war. He also vividly recalls how Shroom died in his arms during the Battle of Al-Ansakar Canal. Before the halftime show begins, Billy strikes up a conversation with Faison, a Cowboys cheerleader, and they immediately hit it off. When it's time to finally take the stage, Billy and the other soldiers are shocked and disoriented. The roar of the crowd and loud firework explosions bring back traumatic experiences from the war. Billy quickly calms down when he meets with Faison after the show. For a moment, he considers leaving the army behind to start a new life with her. However, he soon realizes this is impossible, as he can't stand the thought of leaving his comrades to fight the war by themselves. As Billy prepares to return to Iraq, he hopes that he will be reunited with Faison after the war.
Okay, let's talk about our featured novel here. And we're going to be summarizing the article, or at least summarizing the novel, in the first part of our lesson. Remember, the featured novel of this month is Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. And this is a book by the famous American author Ben Fountain. But in any case, this is a story about Billy Lynn. He's a 19-year-old American soldier who is willing to die for his country, which is nice. That sounds very patriotic, but I'd rather hear him say, I want to make that other miserable die for his country. Of course, I'm quoting Patton there. But in any case here, I guess you're patriotic if you're saying, no, I'm willing to sacrifice my life for my country. I love it so much.
You better tell our listeners who Patton is.
A famous American general during World War II.
George Patton.
Yeah, I've got that quote from the movie, though. It was one of, what's his name? Who did Apocalypse Now? Francis Ford Coppola. Patton back in the early 70s or something like that. I'm not sure if Patton actually said that, but I got that from the movie. But anyway, it's kind of related to this. But a lot of times we do say that you express your patriotism patriotism when you say you're willing to die for your country. And, well, in this particular case, he fought in the Iraq War, which is the war that took place after 9/11. So what, that was during the 2000s or so, because 9/11 was what, 2001 or something like that?
It was.
It's been 15 years ago. And during the Iraq War, Billy and his squad members fought heroically in combat. So if you're in a war, usually you're put together in a squad. A squad is a group of soldiers. It could be part of a platoon or something like that. And they go out on patrol and try to clean things up and fight the enemy and stuff like that. Here they fought heroically. Heroically means like heroes, and in combat means when you're fighting in a war.
So here we've got the next sentence says to recognize their bravery. If you recognize someone's bravery or someone's selflessness or someone's kindness, it means you acknowledge it. You want them to know that you realize that they have these qualities. And we're talking about bravery here. Bravery is the noun form of the word brave. If you're brave, you're very courageous. So you have a courageous character if you exhibit bravery. So to recognize their bravery, the governments arranged a special ceremony at halftime of a Dallas Cowboys football game. The Dallas Cowboys, of course, are in the great state of Texas. I used to be a big fan of the Dallas Cowboys before my state got its own team. But it's a big deal if you get to be recognized or honored or celebrated during a halftime of a football game because there are a lot of people there watching. It's televised. It's a big deal. So halftime just means in the middle part of the game. And in a football game, they have a special program during halftime.
Halftime, right. We were always Minnesota Vikings fans because they were the closest market to where I grew up. But they've never won the Super Bowl. They always do well, and then they choke at the end of the season. But the Cowboys, well, they used to win a lot. I think they haven't really won a lot in recent years. No. I guess that's why you're no longer a fan, right? But
no, my state has its own football team now.
Is it the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah,
they moved down from St. Louis. But in any case here, yes, we're talking about halftime. Famous halftime show, of course, is during the Super Bowl. They always have a famous singer put on a big show there. And so here they're going to recognize the sacrifice or the contribution of these soldiers at a special ceremony during halftime of a Dallas Cowboys football game. And the soldiers are scheduled to appear on stage. So it's part of the schedule. Schedule can be both a noun and a verb. Here it's being used as a verb. And usually it's part of a passive construction. They are scheduled to appear. You are scheduled to see the dentist on Thursday. Oh, no, I'm going to have a root canal. It's going to hurt so much. Actually, the last time I had root canal, it wasn't so bad.
It could be active, though, too. You can say, I scheduled an appointment with my dentist.
And so in any case, yes, they're scheduled to appear, and they're going to be honored. They're going to be recognized for their military service. You guys did a great job. We're so proud of you. Thank you so much for your sacrifice.
Now, as Billy readies himself for his big day, he begins to reflect on his past. If you ready yourself for something, you get ready. So we're using ready here as a verb. And if you reflect on something, you think deeply about the past. Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. He's thinking about probably his service in the army and also his past when he was growing up, because here it says he thinks of his dysfunctional family. If you have a dysfunctional family, it doesn't function well because dis means not. So it's not a happy, normal family that most of us wish we had, or maybe we have a good working family, a functional family. His had some problems, and they really didn't support him. And they didn't want to really support anything he did. So he decided, hey, I'm joining the army. Do you know a lot of kids join the army because they're looking for a family, something that gives them a support and meaning for their life. Unfortunately, it's a tough way to go because a lot of these folks end up dying.
Exactly. So, yes, he has a dysfunctional family. Maybe there's alcoholism or violence or something like that. So we could say that it is dysfunctional. And so he joined the army because he thought, hey, maybe I can get some support from other soldiers and it can give my life a new meaning. I'll have a new purpose in life and stuff like that. Now, then he remembers the brave men and women, both dead and alive, whom he served with during his deployment in Iraq. So I guess he gets kind of emotional here as he's getting ready for this recognition, this honor that they're going to give him during halftime at this football game. Yes, there were lots of people that I fought alongside with, and they made lots of sacrifices and stuff like that. So yes, indeed, he does get kind of choked up about that, and I suppose this kind of affects whether or not he's going to be able to keep it together when he's on stage there at halftime.
Yeah, you know, if you've got a celebration like that and you're in the public, it's not a good time to get emotional. So they're there to be celebrated, but you know, he's trying to get himself ready for it because there's a lot of his service in Iraq that isn't good. It brings back bad memories, too. Yeah, but you know what? He's got to get himself ready because he is going to be honored during the halftime. Here in the last part of that sentence, we're talking about how he's remembering the brave men and women, some whom are dead, some whom are still alive. He served with these folks during his deployment in Iraq. You'll often see this word deployment when we talk about service people, servicemen and women. If you're deployed somewhere, you're sent to serve in a particular location. So they move the troops that refer to the soldiers, they move the troops into a location and position them so they're ready for military action. And sometimes a deployment can last 6 months, sometimes a year. And usually at the end of that deployment, they're allowed to go home. And then they might be redeployed if they need more help later on. It depends on how many numbers of men and women are serving at the time.
Absolutely. So, yes, indeed, that's what happens here as he's appearing at halftime and he's remembering all of the people he served with during his deployment in Iraq. Okay, that brings us to the halfway point in today's lesson. Let's take a break now and come right back after we hear from our Chinese teacher.
大家好，欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是 Sunny。我们今天要一起阅读的是 Unit 13 文学单元的第一天课程 War and Honor Through the Eyes of a Soldier。 本课所探讨的小说叫做 Billy Lin's Long Halftime Walk， 中文被翻译成比利·林恩的中场战事。相信大家对这部小说应该不陌生，因为这本小说最近被知名导演李安改编成电影。如果我们要表示这部小说被改编成电影，英文怎么说呢？我们可以说 The novel was adapted for the screen. Adapt, A-D-A-P-T, 就是改编的意思。文章的第一段提到，小说的主角叫做 Billy Lin， 他是一位愿意为国家牺牲的士兵。国家为了表扬他和其他士兵，于是在一场美式足球赛的中场休息时间安排典礼来表扬他们。我们看到第一段的最后一句 The soldiers are scheduled to appear on stage so they can be honored for their military service. 这些士兵被安排现身在舞台上，如此一来他们能够因其服役而被公开表扬。 Schedule 在这里是当作动词，意思是安排什么行程或是预定的意思。Be scheduled to 加上原形动词，就是指被安排做什么事情，或是预定做什么事情。例如 The sales meeting is scheduled to take place this Friday. 销售会议预定在这个礼拜五举行。我们可以用 be scheduled for 加上一个时间来表示某事物被排定在某个时间。例如 The presidential election is scheduled for March. 总统大选预定在3月举行。接着我们看到文章第二段提到 Billy 在为这个接受表扬的大日子做准备时，他想到了自己的过去以及战场上的点点滴滴。我们看到第二段的第二句有一个 用疑问词 how 所引导的名词子句。How their lack of support made him want to join the army to give his life new meaning. 缺乏家人的支持，如何使他想要从军，以赋予自己的人生新的意义。还有这一段最后一句也有一个 how 子句哦，后面是写说 How Shroom died in his arms. 施洛姆是怎么死在他怀里的。这两句的 how 都是表示如何的意思，引导一个名词子句当作 thinks of 和 recalls 的受词。使用疑问词所引导的名词子句时，要特别注意子句里面的主词要放在助动词或是 be 动词的前面，不用倒装。例如 What should I do? 是一个疑问句，如果改成 I don't know what I should do, what 子句就会变成名词子句当作 know 的受词，这个时候 I 就要放在 should 的前面。另外how 所引导的名词子句除了有如何怎么样的意思之外，还有多么怎么样的意思。这个时候 how 后面会先接一个形容词或是副词，再接主词和动词。例如 I didn't know how important my health is until I got cancer. 直到我得了癌症，我才知道健康有多么重要。这句的 how 就先接形容词 important，再接主词 health 和 be 动词 is.
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about war and honor through the eyes of a soldier. Our soldier is Billy Lynn, and he's a 19-year-old American soldier who served during the Iraq War. When we left off, we were talking about a special ceremony the government had arranged to honor these soldiers during halftime at a big Dallas Cowboys football game.It's a big deal. A lot of people are watching. Also, all of these football games are televised because there are fans all over the United States, not just living in Dallas, but like me, I lived in Arizona, but I was a Dallas Cowboys fan. So they're scheduled to appear on stage so that they can be honored. And as Billy gets ready for this day, he starts thinking back and reflecting on what happened while he was there.About his squad members, you know, both men and women who died and who are still alive, and those that he served with while he was deployed.
Exactly. So going on here to the next sentence, it says he thinks about one of his mentors, Sergeant Shroom, whose philosophical insights gave him a different outlook on the war. So this is, of course, someone by the name of Sergeant Shroom. In the Army, we have privates, corporals, and then sergeant. And then this is a mentor of Billy here. Billy maybe was a private or a corporal or something like that. Mentor or mentor, you can pronounce it both ways here. It's just somebody who's probably older than you or somebody who's more experienced than you, and they basically teach you about different things. They advise you about things. So Sergeant Shroom probably has been in the military longer than Billy and has served in Iraq and maybe other wars. And so he knows more things than Billy does, and he helps him along. And also Sergeant Shroom has some philosophical insights.
Yeah, if you have insight into something, it just means you have a special feeling or knowledge about something that you've gained perhaps through experience. I always think of insight as sort of wisdom that people have that they're willing to share. So if he has philosophical insights, it's probably things about what the war means to him. I heard a good line in a show I've been watching recently, and a soldier returned from war, and someone asked him how it was, and how was the war? What did you learn? He said, the war is a loss of good men. You know, there's not much to say about war. We would all hope we didn't have to go to war about anything because you're losing a lot of good men and women who are actually killed during combat. So his sergeant probably tells him how he feels about the war and what he's come to learn over the years. That's what a mentor does too. They kind of share with you their outlook. He gave him a different outlook on the war, that it wasn't all, ooh, let's go fight. I'm going to die for my country. Actually, a lot of bad things happen in war. They see awful things while they're serving. And when they come back, it really impacts the rest of their lives.
Yep, and of course, they come back and try to teach us about that, and their stories are often made into movies and things like that. And so, of course, we have a different outlook, a different way of looking at things. Maybe they went in thinking, yeah, we really need to spread democracy and the American way of life and stuff like that. But when they get there, they think, well, yeah, that's a good idea, but then you got to think about these other things and other stuff, so it gets more complicated. And he also vividly recalls how Shroom died in his arms during the Battle of Al-Ansakar Canal. I hope I said that correctly, but in any case, he recalls this vividly, okay? Vividly means with lots of details, remembering lots of details. It's not just a vague recollection. It's actually a very strong memory with lots of details. He remembers it vividly. He remembers the sounds and the smells and things like that. Shroom actually died in his arms. He was shot or something, and then he was trying to comfort him. Oh, don't worry, we're going to get you help. You'll be okay. But he actually died, and that can affect you. I wouldn't know myself. No one's ever died in my arms before. The closest I've come to that was watching my brother's cat die, but that's a far cry from having somebody die in your arms.
I would say. So before the halftime show begins, Billy strikes up a conversation. If you strike up a conversation, you just begin a conversation. You'll often see strike up used with conversation. With a pretty girl, a Cowboys cheerleader whose name is Faison. Cowboys cheerleaders are pretty famous for being hot. They're really cute. And they immediately hit it off. If you hit it off with someone, you really get along. So when it's time to finally take the stage or walk on stage, Billy and the other soldiers are shocked and disoriented. If you're disoriented, you're kind of confused. Maybe you don't know where you are. You just don't feel calm and settled and at peace. And why do they feel disoriented? Well, because there's a lot of noise going on. The roar of the crowd. A lot of people attend football games, like 100,000 people, and loud firework explosions. Ooh, kind of sounding like bombs and guns, perhaps, right? They bring back these traumatic experiences. Traumatic means trauma was experienced, which means it really disturbed you emotionally. It's distressing. Sometimes trauma can be physical as well. So explosions here is the sound of when a bomb goes off, I would say. So if there's an explosion, usually it's because something's being blown up and it makes that big noise. So they hear these things and it really disorients them, and they don't feel calm and comfortable on stage.
Yeah, maybe they should take that into consideration when recognizing the sacrifices of soldiers. Those fireworks and the crowd roaring and stuff like that might actually not be the greatest thing for them to hear.
No.
They might bring back these traumatic memories from the war, but I guess he got through it. Billy quickly calms down when he meets with Faison after the show. I hope that's how you said her name. This is kind of an unusual name.
It is.
But for a moment, he considers leaving the army behind to start a new life with her. Yeah, maybe I should retire from the army or get a discharge from the army and just settle down. She's a nice girl. I can have a nice life here in Dallas. I can get a job and just be like anybody else and live all the way until I'm, until I die, have kids, grandkids.
Be a grandpa,
the whole thing, go to church on Sunday, whatever. So he considers that briefly, but I guess he decides that his life belongs to his comrades. He needs to get back with his buddies back in the war because I guess he thinks that he really needs to help them out.
Yeah. Comrades means, here it just means a fellow soldier or serviceman, but it can also just mean a companion that you share activities with. Maybe you belong to the same organization, comrades. So as Billy prepares to return to Iraq to serve again, maybe it's another deployment. Remember that word deployment. He hopes that he will be reunited with Faison after the war. If you're reunited, it means you come back together with somebody that you've been apart from. So We don't know what's going to happen, but I think this is kind of interesting because the book kind of shares some of the thoughts of a soldier who's really experienced war.
Yep, indeed. So, yes, he's got to finish his tour of duty in Iraq there, and then maybe he'll feel worthy of returning to Faison. Hopefully, she will wait for him. Hopefully, she will feel that he's worth the wait. But that's all we're going to tell you about the novel. You'll have to see the movie or read the novel yourself to see how things turn out. In our program next time, of course, we're going to talk about the author himself, Ben Fountain.And so that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. But before we say goodbye, we'd like to hear one more time from our Chinese teacher.
文章的第3段提到 Billy 曾经有离开军队的念头，但他最后还是无法忍下心舍弃同伴，让他们自己上战场。我们看到这一段的第一句 Before the halftime show begins, Billy strikes up a conversation with Faison, a cowboy's cheerleader, and they immediately hit it off.在中场休息的表演开始前，比利和牛仔队的啦啦队长斐森攀谈，然后马上就相处融洽。这句有一个片语 strike up， 意思是开始进行某事。例如 strike up a conversation with somebody 就是指和某人开始谈话。strike up a friendship with somebody 就表示和某人建立起友谊。另外，这句还有一个片语hit it off. 如果我们说某人和某人 hit it off, 就是指 they like each other as soon as they meet, 就是指两个人一见面就很喜欢彼此，很相处得来。以上就是今天的文学课程，谢谢大家收听。
Thanks for joining us, everybody. This was just day 1 of our literature unit. Day 2, as you know, will be spent talking about the author Ben Fountain.Who wrote Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk. We hope you'll join us then. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.